Luxury prices have been crazy. Glossy reported that between 2019 and 2022, luxury prices have gone up as much as 25%. And more recently, Bain, which is a management consultancy firm, reported that luxury brands have lost 50 million customers, with people instead turning to pre-loved websites, contemporary brands that have more palatable prices, and discounted online retailers instead. Now, I want to go through 3 brands in particular who have reacted to this by decreasing their prices, a rare occurrence in the world of luxury fashion, and also what this means for brand strategies in 2025. What are we expecting to see around the topic of pricing? Guys, if you are new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably going to love it here. So head on there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. This is a conversation that I feel we have had on and off for the last, at the very least, year. Prices are going up, and quality seems to be looking more and more shoddy as every day goes by. And so it is becoming harder and harder for people to really justify parting with their money for these luxury items. Federica Lovato, who is a partner at Bain, who we spoke about earlier, was quoted in a Business of Fashion article saying, "I believe that customers are feeling undervalued, and the risk is that if brands don't react, this drawing back from luxury consumption can become long-lasting behaviour." Here's how I sort of see it, right? And this might be just like a very simplified view, but this is the way that makes sense in this old noggin. 2019/2020, the pandemic, people couldn't really leave their houses, people aren't spending on dining out, right? Let's go for a little date night. People aren't spending on holidays because you couldn't leave the country, okay? People are like, oh, I've got this little pool of cash here that usually goes elsewhere. Let me treat myself to a little luxury good or two, right? What happens next? Luxury brands growing, soaring, having the best time. Oh, reporting all of these crazy numbers. Phenomenal. Having a wonderful time. Good for them. Then life goes, quote unquote, back to normal. More and more companies are requiring, if not the whole week in the office, some days back in the office. You know, life is getting back to along the lines of what it was before the pandemic. Money that was going on luxury items is going back to those items that it was going to before, holidays, eating out, whatever, okay? On top of that, you've got a rough economy that then means that that pool is shrinking anyway, and the luxury brands are like, sorry, you were spending on me. Why are you not giving me your money? What have we done? So they've gone, okay, who is still spending with us? High net worth individuals, the people that regardless of whatever the economy is doing, they're still going to buy bags, shoes, clothes, whatever it is, okay, from these luxury brands, jewellery. So it seems like with a lot of these luxury brands, their focus is turning to the high net worth individuals. How might we accommodate you? Oh, let's bring out more exotic bags. Let's do X, Y, and Z that we think that the high net worth individuals want, and let's neglect the aspirational customer that kept us afloat during those pandemic times, okay? That 2% of customers that are responsible for 40% of the sales of these luxury goods. In the simplest of ways, I think some brands have forgotten who they are and they think they're that girl when you're really not that girl to be putting your prices up to this. Okay, that is not who you are. You think that you're Billy Big Bollocks, and honestly, the aspirational customers have left you and now you're worried. Okay? And what happened? A lot of these brands, bar quite literally a less than 5, have either not grown or growth has actually shrunk a bit, okay, in the last 12 months. The brands that are doing well are the brands whose customers still see value in their product. They are also coincidentally brands that, compared to some other luxury brands, yes, they've increased their prices as they would do annually, but not to the same extent, not to this like egregious, what sometimes seems very greedy amount done by other brands. Hermes, Brunello Cucinelli, Loro Piana, Bottega as well is the only Kering brand that has experienced positive growth this year. As a result of all of this, 3 brands have reacted by decreasing their prices. And this happens this is like, oh my gosh, this is like seeing a penguin on the streets of New York. This is such a rare occurrence, right? What is going on? For example, Saint Laurent was one of these to do this earlier this year. They saw a price cut of 10% in the US for the Lulu bags. I only really know US information. Apologies, but you know, it's about a general movement. Okay, stick with me. From $2,950 to $2,650. And the Cassandra wallet on chain was down 20%. Saint Laurent is a brand that, especially for their bags, I think the aspirational customer turns to. These are bags that are deemed to be timeless because they're permanent, they're around all the time. If it is your first or, you know, one of your first luxury bag purchases, you feel comfortable buying a Saint Laurent bag because you know that it's not going to be like trendy or a waste of money or whatever. You see the value in it. And I think what's gone on here is that Saint Laurent has recognised that this is a choice. This is a popular choice for aspirational customers. They don't want to alienate those customers. So do you want to know what? Let's put the prices down to something that makes a bit more sense. Mulberry has recently appointed a new CEO, Andrea Boldo, and he basically, one of his things is going to be to ensure that 60% of the bag offering will be priced at under £1,095. I think that's like $1,300-ish. To Bloomberg News, he said, "We were asking the customer for a little bit too much." Self-awareness. Do you want to know what? In many situations in life, self-awareness is key. Know who you are. Know your customer. Know that if you fall off a chair, you might hit the mirror. She's fine. Mulberry is turning over a new leaf. And Mulberry is one of those brands that, growing up, I'm even trying to like think of how I positioned it in my mind. It was definitely positioned to be a luxury brand. Mulberry and Barber jackets are a match made in heaven to me. Take of that what you will, but that's sort of how I saw Mulberry to be. It was always very high quality. My parents really enjoyed their luggage. And then to be very honest with you, I kind of forgot about them until last year. Was it last year when they did their collaboration with Axel Arigato? Loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was fresh and young and interesting, and I loved those trainers until they fell apart on me, but I still love them. I will also say that I went to have a little scroll through and see their current bag offering, and the soft Bayswater, very nice. Never been a fan of the big normal Bayswater, but the soft one, the little shoulder, it's got like little straps hanging down. I like her. Now, speaking of the Bayswater, that is Mulberry's hero bag. And so they wanted to do 60% of the pricing below the entry price of the bag. The bag starts at £1,095. I think it's a great example of recognising what your customers want from you and where you're positioned in the market. The thing is that some brands can push it. Some brands can like take the piss a bit and some really can't. And I think that the ones that can't are really sort of like dealing with the effects of that this year. Some brands can push it because of their positioning and because they're already sort of seen to hold a level of value, whereas some are like, excuse me, I don't know who you thought you were charging for this. You could barely get away with charging it, you know what you were charging for it last year. And a lot of the big brands need the aspirational customer. They need to have a wide range of product for somebody buying their first designer bag all the way to your high net worth individuals, I want, a very limited, very special piece, something that not many people are going to have, right? If you're a big brand, then I think if you want to grow, you have to cater to that full range. You can't all of a sudden go, because these aren't really going to keep you, they weren't that loyal to you to begin with. Burberry faced a similar problem. So they hired Daniel Lee of Bottega fame, and Daniel Lee sort of turned into, not necessarily in terms of design, but kind of turned Burberry into a little bit of a Bottega-like creature because of the pricing. And this, once again, was a shock, because this wasn't just the odd runway, couture level piece that, there's one of one produced, and so it's an astronomical price. They did have one of those. It was a really, really hideous dress. But it was a lot of the normal ready-to-wear offering that, and I've said this before, the Burberry customer was used to spending $800, let's say, on a Burberry skirt that's now all of a sudden $1,800. Excuse me? Am I reading this right? And it's been no secret that their performance has been a bit sad, to say the least, this year. Their new CEO, Joshua Schulman, said, "We took pricing too high across the board." The majority of all of the newer bags and ready-to-wear went straight into the sale, heavily discounted this year. I would expect in 2025 for you to see a lot more reasonable along the lines of Burberry that we were used to shopping from before prices with the new collections. Because the other thing to note here is that these brands have competition, and I don't necessarily mean that by obviously cheaper, smaller brands, more contemporary brands, right? Because they're there as well. But there have been much more sales this year, I think, compared to normal. I don't know, maybe that's just a me feeling. But I feel like the discounts are flowing. You've also got places like Setier. For some reason, I always want to call it Setier. It's Setier. It's not Setier, I'll tell you that much. Which I think is called like the grey market of luxury, because although it's authentic, they basically you can get discount on new season items because they find it wherever in the world it's cheapest in currency and then sell it to you at a discount, whatever it is. But people are going there. People are exploring pre-loved more than they ever have, and at times experiencing better quality, better customer service even. So, off the back of this, what are we to expect in 2025? I think that more brands are going to take this seriously, and whilst we may not see it as obvious as declines in prices, what I do think they'll do is the new seasons are just priced a little bit more reasonably than they would have been. I also think outlets are going to be getting some really great products next year. If you want any Mattia Blazy for Bottega, they will probably hit the outlets towards the end of 2025. Yeah, if there's any creative directors moving on, the brand is going to basically want to get rid of as most of that old creative director's product so that everything in the stores is under the new vision. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Mattia Blazy, if you want any old Givenchy before Sarah Burton, that's going to be heavily in all the outlets. So you're going to get some good deals there. I think a lot of brands have just realised that people don't value their products at the prices that they are now asking for, especially when it comes to bags and leather goods. This is the biggest, most profitable category in luxury items. And when you are charging $1,500 for a bag and now it's $2,000, those are two very different price points. I've said this before and I will say it again. They need to put their focus back on the aspirational customer and reach a bit of a balance between what are we doing for the high net worth individual, the 2% of spenders, but also what are we doing for the aspirational customer? How are we courting the customer who is buying a luxury item for the first time to make sure they have a great experience and that when they do have the funds, they keep coming back? How do you make sure that you have a bulk of an offering for the aspirational customer as well as what the high net worth individuals are looking for? And the balance is off, okay? Because they're swinging very much in one direction and inevitably they're going to have to come crawling back to the aspirational customer. Most brands need both of those customers to survive and they're acting like they don't. So I think everybody needs a little bit of self-awareness, right? A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Thank you very much. I think that we'll be seeing this from more and more brands. Will all of the brands take this and run with it? No. I'm sure some will continue playing ridiculous games. And what's that thing? It's like play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Okay, there you go. That's what's going to happen. Your financials aren't going to be getting much better, blah, blah. I might be wrong here. This is just my opinion. There we go. Guys, what do you think about all of this? I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.